being a little classy tonight? Ooh, you're interested in it. All right. See, bud? Doesn't this look way better? Yeah, now we just need a cocktail to match. Hey friends, welcome back to Barkeep's Choice. Again, my name is Dion. I'll be your barkeep this evening. My classy booze hound of a barback is Bandito. He's going to be helping us along the way. Or actually, he'll probably be like begging for drinks along the way. I mean, that's just kind of what we got to deal with. We wanted to dress up and talk about some very classy, classic cocktails that you might know as the Martini. Bandit, what do you know about Martinis? Oh, you just know that they're strong. Isn't that how you like your beverages? Well, technically you're not wrong because they are very strong. Martini is a delicious classic, but let's go ahead and talk about a few different types. There are actually a few different stories for this classic, and the one that I like says that this cocktail stems from the Martinis. Yeah, bud. The Martinis did evolve from the Manhattan cocktail, but with gin. And subsequently, the Martini evolved from the Martinis. It still keeps the gin, but modifies the accompanying ingredients. The first mention of the Martini was in Harry Johnson's 1888 version of the Bartender's Manual. And then again, in a newer version in 1900, and this time it was called the Marguerite Cocktail, calling for orange bitters, an anise liqueur, French vermouth, and gin. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't know what French vermouth is? Well, it's more commonly known as dry vermouth. Typically less sugar than Italian vermouth, which you probably know as sweet vermouth. So one easy way to remember this is that dry vermouth is from France and sweet vermouth is from Italy. Coming into the 20th century, there's been hundreds of variations of the Martini, and modern bartenders today still like to create their own variations. Martinis can be made in several different ways, and especially depends on where you're having them. Today I'm going to be discussing 3 basic styles of martinis, so this way you know how to order your desired martini. Now the first question I'm going to ask you is if you want your martini with gin or vodka. Gin is the original ingredient for this cocktail, but it's pretty common for most people to want it with, vodka. Today we're going to be using Hendrick's Gin. Hendrick's is a Scottish-style gin made by master distiller Leslie Gracie. It's infused with Bulgarian damask rose as well as cucumbers and finished with 11 fine botanicals. You can definitely pull some strong floral and fresh notes upon tasting this gin. Alright, now that we know that we're going to be using gin, the next question I'm going to ask you for your martini is if you want it dry, wet, or dirty. So if I'm going to be making a dry martini, I'm going to just rinse the glass with dry vermouth. If you want it, as some people say, bone dry, I'm not going to use any vermouth at all. Now, if you want a wet martini, I will simply add more vermouth. And finally, if you want a dirty martini, I'm going to replace the dry vermouth with olive brine. A key thing to remember with martinis is that they're always going to be about 3 ounces total when they're being built. When it's either a wet or dirty martini, I'll be using 2.5 ounces of gin and 1/2 ounce of either dry vermouth or olive brine. So for example, if you want a super dirty, filthy martini, I would use 1.5 ounces of gin and 1.5 ounces of olive brine. So equal parts to, really get that dirtiness in there. Bandit, does that make sense? Oh, you want the one with the most alcohol. You are a booze hound, aren't you? Let's go ahead and start building our martinis. First, we're going to start with our dry martini. And what we're going to do is we're going to rinse the glass with dry vermouth. So you just want to get it and touch all the surfaces of the inside of the glass. And we don't need all that extra vermouth, so we can just toss it on out. Alright, and then we're going to grab our mixing glass and we'll just simply pour 3 ounces of our Hendrick's Gin. Secondly, we're going to be making my personal favorite, a wet martini. I like to do a 2-to-1 ratio on this, just with a dash of orange bitters. And today we're going to be, again, using Fee Brothers Orange Bitters, and that's 1 dash. And being that it's a 2-to-1, we're going to be using only 1 ounce of dry vermouth. And then 2 ounces of our Hendrick's Gin. And finally, for the dirty martini, the next question I'll ask is if you want your dirty martini shaken or stirred. Now, dirty martinis, I would say, are fine to shake. Even though it doesn't have citrus, you still want that olive juice and brine just to completely mix in with all of the gin. This also depends on the bar and barkeep that are mixing your beverages. And why I will always ask how you prefer your martini. I've also noticed that majority of people who like dirty martinis really like their martinis to be shaken rather than being stirred. So we're going to go ahead and pour our martini into our shaker. And like I said, we'll go ahead and do a 1/2 ounce of our olive brine to 2.5 ounces of our gin. All right, now I have all 3 of these cocktails built, so let's go ahead and mix them all together and, you know, enjoy the show. Now that we're finished mixing all 3 of these martinis, the next question I'd ask you is if you wanted this served up or on the rocks. Now first, when I'm saying I want this served up, I'm meaning in a stemmed glassware, kind of like our coupe that we've been using in prior videos. And then if you want it on the rocks, I will serve it in a rocks glass over a large ice rock. Now let's go ahead and strain these beverages. So we're going to go ahead and pour our dry in the glass that we had the vermouth in, and then we're going to pour the wet martini, as I just did, on the rocks, and then our dirty is going to be served up. Now the final question I'm going to be asking you is what you want for a garnish. Either you want a lemon twist, or if you want it an olive. So typically for a dirty martini, because it has that olive brine in there, I'm just going to go ahead and throw an olive on top of the beverage. And I like wet martinis, so my preferred way is to do a twist. Always release the oils and rim the glass. And then Bandit. You're the one who really wants a very powerful, strong drink. What do you want for your dry martini? Oh, you want an olive. Right on, bud. Here you go. This is my favorite part. I get to taste the beverages. All right, and first I'm going to start with my personal favorite, the wet martini. Ooh, man, this is just, perfectly balanced. The vermouth helps soften the gin with some light citrus characteristics from the orange bitters. All right, let's go ahead and try the dirty martini. The olive brine really takes over this cocktail with some salty brine, because it's been made from olive juice. And finally, let's try that dry martini. Oh my God, this is superb. Mainly because you get the full impact of the Hendrick's gin. It's very clean with that little hint of vermouth. It is very delicious. As you can see, martinis are not that complicated to make, but there are certainly differences in the way that they are made. Now you know some more of the terminology for your preferred style of martini. Martinis are kind of like ordering eggs at a diner. Everyone wants them different in their own specific way. If you're looking to go out to bars and restaurants with your friends, please wear a mask. Not just for you, but for everyone else, including those working. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. This way Bandit and I can continue to make drinks for you. All right, friends, stay safe, stay clean, drink up. Cheers. Dirty.